the really crazy part about that story is that Soli Sarabji, Mr. Soli Sarabji was the opposing counsel in that very case. So
That's right.
yeah, so it's quite a fun story, and I think from your response, what I've gotten is that uh, Javed Abdi, the person, he was truly a pioneer, and he had a lot of courage, he had a lot of conviction. He was one of the first people to push for disability rights as human rights, as you pointed out as part of the panel, and obviously through all his work in the 90s, and just pushing not just through NCP EDP but also through DRG, and later on through DPI as well as Disabled People's International's chair. Um, Now, I think it's a good point to go to our second question, which is that he was a pioneer and he did a lot of pioneering work. But it has been 6 years since his passing, right? So, how do you think he's remembered today?
How do you think he is remembered today?
Yes, yeah.
Well, undoubtedly, Javed is remembered as a pioneering cross disabilities activist. Um, the 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 evidence is there very strongly before all of us. Um, you know, the evidence of his cross disability advocacy. The very first act of 1995 had accorded legal recognition to 6 types of disabilities, or 7 types of disabilities, uh, whereas the 2016 law on disability, the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act, the RPD Act, that is currently the law in India, that law recognizes or has accords legal recognition to 21 disabilities. So whereas the first law had accorded legal recognition to 7, the current law accords recognition to 21 disabilities. It's a significant expansion in the reach of the law, and there are many such provisions in the law that speak to the cross disabilities thrust in this law. In fact, the law itself is a cross disabilities law. I mean, the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act, the RPD Act, is a cross disabilities law. And what is Javed's contribution to this? When the first law was enacted, Javed had pushed very, very hard amid a lot of skepticism, even within the disabilities community. Despite a lot of skepticism within the disabilities community, Javed was very, very clear, very far-sighted that we ought to have a law for disabled people, and a bad law was better than no law at all. That was his clarity of vision. And similarly, between 2013 and 2014, when the draft bill of the current legislation was taking shape, there were a lot of reservations. There were a lot of skeptics who felt that nothing short of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities had to be replicated under the Indian law. Anything short of that was not good enough. And again, Javed Abidi was very, very, very forceful. He forcefully advocated for Parliament to enact that draft bill you know, no matter what its shortcomings, he was pragmatic uh, and was a very strong votary for, for enactment of the second law. And he was not one to wait for a perfect law. You know, he knew more than anybody else that the far-reaching provisions under the draft legislation would take the cause of disabilities forward. So I think it is it is it is for these reasons that Javed Abidi is being remembered, and I don't think you can. I don't think anybody can forget the intense lobbying he engaged in with members of parliament, with policymakers, with fellow disabled groups to have this law passed sooner than later. So, you know, it is very difficult to talk about the current law on disabilities without remembering Javed, without remembering Javed's contribution. So I think by and large, his the way he's remembered is, I think, for the current law on disabilities.
Javed Abdi Foundation, JAF, which also stands for Journalism, Advocacy and Fun. Please subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon, like, comment, and share.